This presentation will focus on two elements in decision-making, the cognitive, or rational, and the ethical. Specifically, we will examine the rational model and Simon's normative model. Sometimes analysis can paralyze a leader. Leaders, though, must make decisions. The leader's role is to help people of the organization to go left or right, up or down, or in and out. And formulas or processes often help leaders do this, according to Robbins and Judge, 2007. March and Olson, 1986, noted the classical theories of choice in organizations emphasizes decision-making as the making of rational choices on the basis of expectations about the consequences of the actions for prior objectives and the organizational forms as instruments for making those choices. Unfortunately, this isn't always the case, as evidenced by the rise in corporate scandals such as Enron, WorldCom, and OmniMedia. Rational decision-making involves a cognitive process where each step follows a logical order from the one before. Cognitive is defined as thinking through and weighing up alternatives to come up with the best potential result. Clausen, 2009.
Rational decision-making models involve a cognitive process, where each step follows in a logical order from the one before. Cognitive defined as thinking through and weighing up the alternatives to come up with the best potential result. The classical rational model of decision-making discussed by Robin and Judge consists of a four-step sequence. Identify the problem, generating alternative solutions, selecting a solution, and implementing and evaluating the solution. The comparison is then often performed by filling out forms or charts that have many names, such as decision matrix, Pew matrix, decision grid, or criteria rating form. A relative importance is given to each criterion, and the options are scored against each of the criteria, and the highest wins.
Let's take a look at another decision-making model. This particular model that I'd like to take a look at is the Simon normative model and is grounded on the premise that decision-making is not rational. Common characteristics of decision-making are limited information processing, the use of rules of thumb or shortcuts, and the need to be satisfying. Simon, in 1977, presented the idea that human rationality is goal-directed but of limited information processing capability. Simon then argued that organizations make it possible to make decisions because they constrain a set of alternatives to be considered and the considerations that are to be treated as relevant. That being said, no contemporary discussion of decision-making would be complete without the inclusion of ethics, because ethical considerations would be considered important criteria upon which organizations and leadership makes decision. Once again, I refer to examples such as Enron, WorldCom, and others. Therefore, Michael will now talk about these ethical considerations.
Making good ethical decisions requires a trained sensitivity to ethical issues and a practiced method for exploring the ethical aspects of a decision and weighing the considerations that should impact our choice of a course of action. Since we developed a more complex brain, we humans have been using that brain to try to convince others of the correctness of our thinking. Since the Renaissance and the development of scientific methods, we have tried to rely more and more on logic, reason, data, and analysis, and less on our values and beliefs. According to Clausen, to be a complete leader, one needs to learn how to function on a foundation of moral and ethical principles. Leading morally will not ensure dramatic results, but it will, according to Clausen, enable our leadership and decision-making skills to have greater influence.